Hi, I'm Rod Holland,
I'm Thang Nguyen.
and today we're going to talk about Apple Inc., Apple Incorporated, and we're going to talk about its SWOT analysis, its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then we're going to talk about its strategy and also some recommendations that we have for Apple. So first of all, Apple was started in a garage in 1976 by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, and it is the first conception of the personal computer in the world. And today's market value, it has increased in over 50,600%. Can you believe it? Um, proceed, uh, it has produced successful product lines like the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and has an exceptional line of computers that creative people are more in tune with. The company itself has an innovative culture, and it is the world's first trillion-dollar company. So there's some questions that we have come up with, and with some help of our professor. And we want to explain Apple's success following Steve Jobs' return. And what does it suggest about Apple's core competency? Does Apple have a good strategy? We want to describe that strategy as best we can and maybe make some suggestions on how it may be modified with the growing international competition. Looking to the future, is Apple's competitive advantage sustainable? Why or why not? What are the challenges that Tim Cook, the new CEO, has? How should he address them? We want to consider the internal, the external environments for Apple, and what are the alternatives that can help them compete in this international market.
Apple's success following Steve Jobs' return was due to Steve's commitment into innovations at the corporate strategy. He saw the need for reducing the number of products. Prior to that, the company has many different products such as Mac, desktop, laptop, and server. So by doing that, the company can reduce the cost of operation and then focus on what Steve thought customer wanted. Um, Apple's success was also due to the marketing strategy, which include a website to sell products as well as the retail store and builds to-order manufacturing strategy. In addition, Apple operating system is Unix based and that enables software provider more access, creating compatible products. Um, Jobs believes strongly in controlling the total user experience from hardware to software as well. Um, to talk about core competencies, um, Apple relying into innovation and focus on a strategy called Digital Hub that utilize Mac to create a real advantage for customer who were becoming familiar to the digital world, like using phones, camera, music, and videos. And then the Mac could be preferred as the hub to control and integrate and add value to the devices. And if we go to moving to SWOT analysis, um, let's talk about strength for of Apple. We have to talk about brand image. According to Forbes, Apple brand is worth around $170 billion in 2017, and the brand value is closely related to its recognitions, meaning that Apple is also one of the world's most recognizable brands. Um, the second strength that Apple has is strong leadership, and obviously Steve Jobs is one of the most talented leaders in the world and have a lot of influence to his colleges and his employees. The third strength is high profit margin. So Apple earned about 92% of the profits in the smartphone category and has racked up a cash for around $257 billion on its balance sheet. And another strength that Apple has is innovation. Apple has designed and developed its own hardware, software, application, and services that allow the company to introduce a unique, innovative product and solution for customer. Let's say hardware. Apple has iPhone, iPad, Macs, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and so in software, Apple also have Mac OS, iOS, Watch OS, and TV OS that work really nicely with those hardware. For services, Apple has iTunes, Apple Store, iCloud. That's a complement for the software and hardware that Apple currently have. And application is, for example, like iLife, iWorks, iMovie, iPhoto, and Final Cut Pro that work really nicely on the Mac OS. And moving to weaknesses, Apple has the limited product line, only a few of them like Mac, iPad, iPhone, Watch, and TV. Another weakness that Apple has is we see is the over dependence on iPhone product lines. And in 2014, only like over 50% of the sale is on the iPhone. If we look into the exhibit 1 in the article. Historically, also Apple has really close innovative process that doesn't want to work with any other software provider that limited Apple to make the products reach out to customer and to the world. Another weakness that we see is Apple had the high selling prices that and that made Apple become dependent on the sale on the high-end market segments. Let's talk about opportunity. Apple has such a strong platform that combine of hardware, software, services, and application together. That's a potential for Apple to have to create more product that's innovative product that add value to the current product that Apple have. And there also opportunity for Apple to invest into research and development to diversify its product to reduce the risk from the sale from iPhone if something happen in the future. And for the threat, there's a lot of competition directly with Apple, like Samsung's directly on smartphone. Also on Mac laptop, we have Lenovo, Dell's, and also Microsoft as well. And in the smartphone market, Apple also have to face Samsung have a lot of high-end smartphone, and there's a company in China that sells me that focus on low-end segment market that's really dominant in China. And another threat that we see is the increase in manufacturing costs because China is becoming growing really fast, and the labor cost is not really cheap anymore, and it's facing the increase in manufacturing costs for Apple.
Lights, camera, action. So now we're going to talk about Apple's strategy. Apple has a respectable strategy that nurtures innovation amongst its employees. I think a lot of that is directly driven by Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs really cultivated this environment that projected talk to one another, help each other, figure things out, come up with ideas. Anyway, Apple's strategy is to cultivate a culture of innovation where it allows employees to not only succeed but to fail. Apple's strategy is also to really be an operating system. To me, the company is an operating system with an exceptional interface to the user. And then beyond that, it comes down to a hardware company. Produce hardware that utilizes the operating system and the interface that will create a remarkable user experience. So we suggest that Apple thinks about ways to reduce costs. So they have a nice strategy of packaging. Their products look pretty when they come off the line. They when Apple designs things, I think they not only design the product, but they design the presentation. They design the way it's going to be marketed and come off the line. So they have a limited product line, which is also one of their major strategies. Rather than having the printers and things that existed before Steve Jobs came back to Apple, they ended up reducing product line. So they have a focused product line, and another one of their corporate strategies is their unique operating system and that interface that I just spoke about. The new products, one of the strategies that Apple holds is that the new products enhance the old products. So all of them seem to work on one platform. And that platform, whether iPod, iPad, iPhone, and the computer lines, they all enhance each other. They all kind of work together. So, and one of the other Apple strategies is that they always search for unanticipated needs of the consumer. And Steve Jobs was famous for this. I mean, when he came out with the Apple iPhone, that was an unanticipated need. Even, for example, myself, I was convinced I don't need all my email, my messaging, and my phone, and everything else all together. Once I got it, it was remarkable. So, and then the iPad. The iPad was also an unanticipated need. A much more condensed computer, easy to use, and very mobile. And so Apple's strategy can be modified a little bit so that they need to search for ways to reduce costs, and I'm sure that's no foreign concept to the corporation, but they need to be competitively priced to some extent and continue to innovate that digital hub that they have now come up with that helps to tie together their products. Also, the new products that Apple launches in the future need to add more value to the existing products, as they do already. They need to provide a positive customer experience in everything that they do. Apple also needs to continue to nurture innovation and find the unanticipated needs of the consumer, as that was Steve Jobs' major focus. They need to offer something different from their competitors while providing that unique consumer experience. Additionally, Apple needs to maintain high quality for its products and services and continue to focus on the high-end market segment internationally. I don't think they need to really focus on competing price, but competing and differentiating their product from the competition. And they have been a master at that so far, and I think they should continue to do that.
Cool. To have competitive advantage sustainable, Apple must maintain the four attributes: valuable, rarity, non-imitable, and it cannot have any substitutions. Talk about values. Apple is obviously selling massive amount of products that is valuable to customer, like such as iPhone, Mac, um, and Apple Watch, and um, this is no question here that Apple product doesn't provide any values. In terms of rarity and non-imitable, the raw material and resources to make Apple product is not scarce. Um, so um, that one is not scarce. So Apple software is really unique that provide exceptional experience to customer, and it's really hard to copy Apple software. However, Apple software is not a competitive advantage sustainable um, because those technologies, others company gradually catch up with Apple, such as Android, Google. They made the software become really nice and really friendly to user and useful. So if software is not a competitive advantage, then advantage, and what is really about? So Apple have a unique have control over its hardware and software. That will make them different from other company, um, such as MacBook and iPhone and iCloud. They all work together as a as Apple follow the digital hub strategy and create a unique system and product and services that's really hard to copy, and it's really rare that no other competitor um, can can copy and then make it valuable the same as Apple doing right now. So um, that really is one of the competitive advantage that Apple have over other companies. And the last attribute is substitution, and of course there's a lot of substitution for Apple iPhone, Apple MacBook, MacBook Pro, Apple Watch. But as I say, because Apple have a complete platform that's control hardware and software and services, that's even though there's a lot of substitution out there, but usually consumers still prefer Apple products. Um, and in the future, is Apple competitive advantage is sustainable? It's a really hard question. It's really not easy to maintain that competitive advantage. Apple had to continue to innovate the culture and employee to promote innovation within the organization. And Tim Cook will need to nurture that straightforward and focus interaction among employees that and contribute into the innovative products that Apple have developed. Whether someone is new is required, if someone within the organization can fulfill the leadership role, needed remain to be seen. I don't know, maybe.
So we'd like to take a moment to talk about alternatives and recommendations. So we, as a group, had thought about what to do. What should Apple do to survive? And one of the things that came up was target low-end market segments. I don't know, third world countries, or I think Apple came out with the Apple SXE, and that was to target lower cost, ability to use an iPhone. But we don't think that is necessarily their answer. And, they could do nothing. They could just operate as they do now, and they seem to be doing fine. But I think that they've met the top of the S curve. I think that they're starting to decline if they don't keep innovating. So what Apple, I think, needs to do is they need to continue to maintain and improve the quality of its products and services, but they also need to look at new blue ocean products. I mean, what is at the edge of this environment here? What's new in the cell phone industry? What's new? What applications can be produced? And so then it comes into they need to continue to nurture that corporate environment that produces good quality products or good quality ideas. So I don't know what the new blue ocean product that is going to come out next is, but what we are questioning is Tim Cook available and ready to nurture that corporate environment that Steve Jobs had created, that targeted innovation, that produced an open and communicative environment that people would bring up and nurture new ideas and new product lines, and making it okay to bring up an idea that everybody strikes down and not being afraid to nurture new ideas. So here we have a company that was started in 1976 in a garage that came out with the first personal computer. They went on to become the largest corporation in the world. And it's because they became an innovative company through in and throughout. Their new products, new ideas, and just the way they develop their corporate culture. And it's because they have an innovative culture. It's because they have strong leadership. And I think that is what this company needs to continue to do, is develop new ideas, find strong leadership. If Steve Cook can't do it, somebody else. Is that his name, Steve Cook?
Tim Cook.
If Tim Cook can't do it, he needs to find somebody to do it. The employees need this. They need focus. They need to be able to talk to one another. They need to utilize each other to develop new products and innovate to something new, something on the outskirts of their core environment, something that mends and blends with the iPhone usage and computers, that will also sustain and help support its existing product line.